this video, I want to do a first-person account / story of what makes Wrath of Cores trading card game so great. This is a TCG, a homemade card game created by Chris over at Wrath of Cores. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to check out his channel and website. There's so much in this game that taught me about making card games and playing card games, and so I want to do a video on what makes this game great and a bunch of lessons that you guys can take out of it. So it started on October 29th, 2022 when I discovered his battle video of a new game he was working on. At the time, I didn't really know much about Wrath of Cores. He had been in the community for about 6 years at the time and been working on his card game Wrath of Cores 1.0. But this was like a new game where he took everything he learned from that game, which he worked 6 years on, and put it into a new fresh game that had new characters, and it was really exciting. I was working on my card game, my own homemade trade card game called Wrath Wars TCG at the time, which was based more off board game mechanics. If any of you have ever seen that game, you know it doesn't really play like a normal card game. Same with Wrath of Cores. It used some different mechanics, like with dice rolls and counterattacks, and that was really inviting to me as someone who had a big background from board games. So this game was like the perfect TCG made for me to get in playing TCGs, because at the time I'd only really played some Pokemon and maybe a little bit of Chaos Galaxy. I hadn't really played many card games. I thought a lot of them were complex and hard to get into, and that was really discouraging for me as a new player. But Wrath of Cores, I could basically pick it up in 5 minutes and teach it in 5 minutes. That's how amazing it was to get into. And that's a lesson I think you guys can learn. If you're making a homemade trading card game and you're looking to build a fan base, make sure your game is easy to get into. Because if you want a fan base with people who, like most card game players are going to play like Magic or the big card games. If you want to draw in fans to your little niche card game, you want an appeal. You want the system to be easy to get into, but fun to play. You want art that's interesting and characters that the fans can get connected to. You want to, work really hard on making the game appealing. So I decided to bite the bullet. I got a bunch of Wrath of Cores stuff, and it was one of the best decisions I made in my card game career. My cousin was coming down to visit at the time. They would only come down once a year, and I decided to bring the Wrath of Cores cards that I just got. We ended up filming a few battle videos and had a blast playing the game. It was so fun because the game was new. No one really knew what the cards did or what the cards meant. It's not like there had been an established community playing the game before. We were pretty much the first play testers of the game. And so we were figuring out the meta, we were figuring out what cards were good, and our whole weekend was just taken up of just talking about Wrath of Cores, and it was some of the best memories I ever have with card games. And so Wrath of Cores is really special to me in that sense. You can see this reflected in the early ages of Magic the Gathering, when the cards were new, fresh, and exciting. Those were some of the most fun times to play the card game, because people were making mistakes playing the game. It's not like they were using the most powerful cards. They were just having fun with it, discovering what the cards did. And that early playtest stage is something that is so golden in Wrath of Cores' history. It's not like we'll ever get that again, and I will treasure that forever. So if any of you are making a new card game, that early playtest stage is something that shouldn't be rushed. Those are sometimes some of the most fun times to play your card game. Now, the second thing about Wrath of Cores and what makes it so great is that he did so many things differently. If you want to make your card game stand out, you gotta add a bunch of new things. And if you want to progress the medium of card games, try new things so then others can learn from them. Wrath of Cores trying out so many different things in this game taught me a bunch about card games. For example, him making his first product a 50-card beta box, which basically took 50 arts from his old card game, basically the 50 best arts, and put them into a little 50-card set where he would send out to playtesters. This was so good because it's not like he would have you buy a bunch of packs to build confusing decks. No, he would give you all the cards you needed to build a basic deck, and then if you wanted, you can buy booster packs to make it even better. But then he would play on Discord call with these new decks and see how fans would react. Turns out the game was super fun, and that early playtest stage of him sending out cards was genius. He got a small little community of players to start playing the game. And that's something I really want to try to do in my new card game, is release a product that gives you basically a foundation to play the game. Not so you have to open a bunch of packs and gamble your way to build a good deck. I just want there to be a good foundation. So that's something Wrath of Cores did really well. Now, talking about Chris, the creator himself, this guy is extremely dedicated to making card games, and that's why I hopped on to the new game, because I knew he wasn't just going to give it up like so many creators after their first set. He had been making Wrath of Cores, his previous card game, the 1.0 version, for about 6 years, or 6 years plus at the time. And so when he started his new game, he took everything that he learned from the old one, all the good characters, all the designs, all the mechanics, and put it into this new one. And that's why it kind of came out really good, really polished. That's another lesson. Yes, to make a really good card game, you might have to make a few other card games before that, or just work really hard on one in order to learn some lessons. And you know, most people can't just get right out of the gate and make an amazing card game from the start. You gotta have dedication. And Chris from Wrath of Cores had crazy dedication. I mean, the amount of time he's been consistently making videos and cards, and it's not like this guy has a huge community. It's just, there's something more than depending on your fan base to make your game. He obviously loves the process. It's something he really enjoys, and that's kind of reflected when you play the game. Like, you could really tell that he enjoys the game. Another amazing part was the collabs. He did collabs with other creators. Kingdoms, oh, actually here's one. There's Last 10 Elementals. So he engaged with the community, which was super smart, and I ended up getting a few of my collab pieces in the game too. And once those come out, I'll do like some pack openings until I get some, and then I'll show you guys those. Those will be super exciting, because this guy's been like one of my favorite creators of all time, so the fact that I got to make some art for his game is also another reason I really like it. So that's another lesson. If you have like some really dedicated fans in your game, maybe ask them if they want to do one piece of art or two. That'll like lock them in as lifelong fans for your game, because they got to contribute something to a game that they love playing. The more you engage with the community, the more they'll engage with your game. I think that's just a basic lesson. Another thing Wrath of Cores did really differently was the rarities and glares of his game. So what made his game affordable was that he didn't make holographic glares on the Game Crafter, because that makes your packs super expensive. He decided to do different effects in Photoshop to make the cards more rare. So these are called the X glare, where he kind of fades the background and makes the art itself pop. And he does this for most cards. So like the Blood Tree, which is one of my all-time favorite cards in the game, because it's so overpowered and so fun to use. So he was innovating in that sense too. He really put himself out there and tried a bunch of new things in this game. He even eventually started printing his own cards at home and sending out packs that way. I ended up getting an autographed card, which is something I never expected from a homemade trading card game creator making cards all by themselves, to actually be able to do autographed cards and make their own cards like in packs and sell them out. I think that's genius. He really is an entrepreneur in that sense. Now that I've talked a lot about all the good things about Wrath of Cores and how he's done things differently, and don't worry, I'll also get into the art and stuff, I want to talk about why his channel might be flawed in a sense. You see that he has little over 2,000 subscribers, but he's been uploading for about 8 years, which is about the same time Chaos Galaxy has been uploading. So why is Chaos Galaxy 40,000 subscribers and Wrath of Cores is only 2,000? Now, I think this comes down to Chris being more of a show, don't tell. You know, he's very mysterious when he makes his card games. He does trailers. He never does full set showcases, which I think is really exciting when you open booster packs, when you are discovering the game, because you don't know what's all in the set. Whereas Chaos Galaxy shows you every card, does everything behind the scenes, the craft, everything, to get you really immersed into the game. Wrath of Cores is exciting when you get the game, because everything's new. You know, you might find a card that you really like that he never showed on his channel before. So that mysterious element, I think, it's really exciting when you're opening packs, but it's also a downfall for his channel, because he's not getting the fans as immersed. So I think moving forward, Chris might want to try doing more behind the scenes of the games, showing more cards, if he really wants the game to get that more engaged. Now, it's completely fine to have a mysterious card game where you kind of discover stuff like that. That's a cool card game model. But if you really want to grow like a fan base, I think you got to get them really engaged into the game. Now, I think this game is more of a hobby for Chris. You know, it's not like he's turning into a job like Chaos Galaxy is. So if it's just for a hobby, I mean, do what you want as a creator. If you just want to enjoy the game and make teasers and just have people discover the game on their own, that's completely fine. But I think that is one of the flaws of Wrath of Cores, which is another lesson we can learn. You know, the more you show about your card game, the more the fans will get engaged with it, which can be really frustrating as a creator, because you really just want to work on the game. You don't want to show it, you just want to get to that finished product and put it out to the people. But it's so hard to learn this lesson, but a lot of the fans like your game more if you show how you made it. you know, if they can like feel like they're in that process too. You might think that the final creation will draw in fans, and it's not the case. You got to be able to talk about your game, you know, articulate its worth. It's not like it's just gonna bring moths to a flame. And Wrath of Cores basically brought me to it, like, without him talking much about it, because I just have an eye for that. I just really like this type of card game. But for the most people, you really gotta show behind the scenes, talk about your card game and why they should get into it, and that'll be infectious. So I think that's another lesson that we can learn. Like Chaos Galaxy, the reason his new TCG is just extremely successful is that he's taking the fans on the journey of making that game, because it inspires them. Oh, if this guy can go on this journey, then maybe I can too, you know? That's why a lot of creators are inspired to make their own card games after watching a series of someone else make them, because they show that it's possible. The game also, my other critique about the game is that, because we can't have all positives, you know, we also got to learn some lessons from the games, is that it doesn't have a ban list. Now, this made it really fun when first play testing, because I don't like ban lists when you just start out in a game. You know, I feel like you should be able to use all the cards and have fun with it. But as you like start to develop a fan base and a meta, you should be able to ban cards that make the meta like problematic, like Blood Tree, Raynus, Neom, and Floating Chest should at least be maybe limited, because everyone's going to use those cards in their deck, and when everyone uses the same cards, the meta isn't as exciting. So that's one thing that maybe could be fixed in Wrath of Cores, maybe adding a limited list. Okay, next is Chapter 2, the online spree of Wrath of Cores. This is when the game got even more new and exciting. So after I'd been doing a bunch of in-person battles with my cousins, I had understood the meta pretty well. So when Wrath of Cores announced a new tournament series that was called Coffee, Cake, and Cores, which is like a weekly, you play with people in the community online to win prizes. So I had felt pretty confident. I entered my deck and we started playing, and I ended up winning the whole thing. I won a booster box, and that was super fun. Despite the fact that I won, I think everyone had a lot of fun with the game. You know, there was other creators like Skyscape who made a bunch of content on like following him discovering the game and building a deck and doing battle videos. So he did a lot of cool commentary videos on the game, and it was clear that this game had an appeal. You know, if people were willing to make fan-made content about a game, then it does have good value. And then, after the kind of online phase kind of wore down, you know, people were still playing Wrath of Cores on and off. You know, I've been playing it in college quite a bit now, but I think it's kind of died down a little bit. You know, the game isn't as new anymore. There's still new sets, like the Mage set. There's still updates coming out, but the game has kind of like the initial excitement of it has kind of died down a little, and now it's going to progress into more like story, characters, new stuff to get us excited. He's adding and he's still trying to add new stuff. Like he's doing a bunch of resource bundle cards. He made a new rule book for the game. So I think that's the big lesson. If you want your card game to continue, you got to add a bunch of new stuff, not just new sets, but new ways to play the game, new formats, new products, new engagements in your servers for people to play with. So to finish it up, I have so many good memories with this game. I learned so much about card games, like balance wise, production wise, art wise. And the art, I mean, I kind of skipped over that, but the art of Wrath of Cores is just beautiful to me. Like, there's some watercolor cards with colored pencil. There's these cards called the Corlysians, which are like a sneaky little lizard type people who kind of appear. Wrath of Cores was kind of what inspired me to use colored pencils in my TCG. You know, our styles differ a lot, but I just like the fact there's more colored pencil creators in the community because of Wrath of Cores. He was kind of the pioneer of that medium with TCGs. So that was why I liked this card game so much and what I learned from it. I hope you guys can take out some lessons, maybe take some notes from this for your own card games. But if you really want to study like how to make a better card game, just look at all the other card games that came before you. See what worked in them, see what didn't work, so then you don't have to fail in your own card game. And Wrath of Cores did so much right, but it's not like every card game's perfect. There's going to be some flaws, you know. There's still more to grow, and that's what makes the medium exciting. There's so much more to learn, and I think if more creators did videos about what they learned in card games and like how they failed, then it would be great material and lessons for newer card game creators. Because you're gonna fail when you start making your first TCG. It's inevitable. It might be misspelling one card, or as big as messing up a whole set of cards, or messing up a whole game system. You know, there's gonna be flaws on all cylinders. So don't be afraid to keep making your card game. don't be afraid to start a new one, but make sure that you finish your card game. You know, even if it has some flaws in it, still finish it. Because if you just like see that one thing isn't working and you don't never finish the game, then you're going to start a new one, and once you see another thing not working, you're just going to keep getting in that endless loop of starting a new game. And that's kind of what I got into for a while before I realized I just got to stick to a game, make it, and just accept that it's going to have some flaws. And that's a big lesson that I want you guys to take out of this video too. But I think that's all I have for time. Thank you guys so much for watching, and go check out Wrath of Cores.